Nonetheless, this could be a dangerous cross. The flashing header.
He's got the penalty arc into Lassiter. Fires, scores! Lassiter!
Lassiter gets in front, takes the shot, he scores.
Welcome to SonarFeed, episode 220. The GoalFather is in the house. Welcome, Roy Lassiter. Welcome, man. Good to have you here, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Excited. A legend in the house.
I love how you do that.
Oh, no question. No question. The pleasure and the honor is mine, man. Like, seriously, to be able to do that, welcome you to hanging out here with us, the boys here at SonarFeed. It is truly an honor, man.
I really appreciate it. It's an honor to be here as well.
We made up a nickname for you, the GoalFather.
Wow.
We decided, between having a son in the league and a certain scoring record,
Yeah.
it was time to have a nickname. So you're the GoalFather.
I'll take it.
Others have tried to pass you, but not
There's
yet.
one. There's only one who's the original.
Yeah.
GoalFather.
Appreciate it, guys.
Did you have a nickname playing? What was the nickname that maybe you did have outside of the one that we bestowed upon you?
The dog.
The dog. Oh, nice. I love it, man.
Well, it's not what you think it would be, but it's kind of sniffing opportunities to score all the time. And so that's how I got that name. And I always barked all the time.
Let's go. Yeah.
That junkyard dog kind of.
That's it.
That's
I
awesome.
always hype my players up before games, and they can hear me in the hallways and barking, and everybody would know I'm coming.
That's awesome, man. That's so awesome to know that, to get that woof, that history, man. I could just imagine how it must have been like when the league was launching, all that energy. Man, I'm hyped already.
Yeah, so I mean, even when we were all dressed and we were all getting ready to walk out, there'd be other players trying to bark too as well because they know
They picked it up.
dogs in the house.
So we'll start with Dave. If you want to introduce everybody, just
Awesome.
in case.
I'm Dave Clark, at Better Than on Twitter. This is episode 220. We're going to feature Roy Lassiter, MLS legend, 27 goals in a single season, a record that still stands.
in only 32 games, I believe.
Only 32
Only 32
games.
games.
We're going to talk to him about the U.S.
Nasty.
national team. He has 34 caps, a couple Gold Cup appearances, was an alternate for a World Cup, played alongside Chris Henderson in that same era. And we're going to talk to him about the U.S. national team because one of our listeners suggested it. We're going to talk to him about youth development because that's what he does right now. He is a youth coach. When we talk about the future of American soccer, one of the men that makes that happen right now is kind of the past of American soccer. So we're going to talk about those big subjects. And then, of course, it's SonarFeed, so we'll talk about more stuff. That's Roy Lassiter to my right, your left. Going two down, we have
Tom Biro, a.k.a. Bougie Hooley.
And Hugo Garcia, a.k.a. at Me Vida Seattle.
Excellent. So I think we got a lot of things we want to cover
Yeah,
tonight.
man,
We
I'm
had a
hyped.
good little pre-show chat.
Yes, we did.
I think everybody here probably wants to talk a little bit of Sounders, so we'll do that for a few minutes because Sunday was pretty fantastic. I don't even know where to start.
we needed that pick-me-up.
Yeah, we
for
did.
sure.
I mean, I'm a Seattle sports fan, so I had to deal with the U.S. national team loss, and then the Cougars loss, and then the Huskies loss. So I really needed the Sounders to, and
The Mariners should have just played a game for fun.
they don't play in October.
just to see.
They
see
don't.
what-
They don't play in October.
We know that, but that's a whole different discussion. So, but just to see if they could break it. But no, that worked out really well. Aside from a Seattle sports standpoint, Sounders land specifically needed a pick me up. So that's really the right way to say it. And I'd say the pick me up had a pretty big exclamation point, and then another one. and then another one, and they just kept coming.
So, Roy, you saw there were the 4 goals last night. You said that you were an opportunist a little bit when you were playing. Was that more of one of Will Bruin's goals, or was it more of a Lamar Nagel goal that kind of said, yeah, that's what I used to do? Who did you see out there that reminded you of a little bit of yourself with just taking those opportunities and not squandering them?
I'd say a combination of both. I'd say Will Bruin is probably my style, of how I play, being around that goal, being brave, because he was brave in some of those goals he was going in to get. And so you have to respect that because not too many players would do that. And also, players make millions and millions of dollars just knowing where to be in the box. So if you can anticipate well and read the game well and stay in the game well and be brave enough to go upon challenges to score a goal and do any and all things to score a goal, then that's what you do. So I'm more so like a Will Bruin type player.
Did you get arm tackled like that?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, elbowed, arm tackled, everything.
They didn't call it as tight back then either, right? Like,
yeah, oh yeah.
Would you say that back then things were a little bit rougher than they are even today? And we consider today's MLS era to be pretty aggressive. But what would you think comparison to when you were playing to what you see today?
I'd say more teams were defensive-minded, definitely tougher. I think you had, back in the day, we had some very, very experienced players, very good players, hard-nosed players, players that were very hard for me to break down, players that could read the game. Though I was fast, they seemed to be right beside me because they could literally read the game well. And I'd say they were very, very hard then. But I think they would be more experienced players. A lot of players back in the day be older if they're playing defensively. Okay. Nowadays, we're playing our youth, and we're letting them gain the experience and make the mistake and just gain experience through playing.
Makes sense. It's the shifting progression of soccer in America overall, so it makes sense.
When Dallas preseason was one of the MLS Cup favorites, Toronto was pretty easy to pick. Seattle, they won, so they were an easy pick, but everybody had Dallas as kind of the third best. Were you a little bit surprised that they struggled so much defensively against the Sounders last night?
Yeah, absolutely. Those were mistakes that they would never make last year. They didn't make those kind of mistakes for whatever it may be. Injuries, different personnel that's on the field. Dallas is still coached well by Oscar, and they still come to play, but ball really fell Sounders' way, and you got to give credit to Sounders. They're a good team. They're just a good team. Every time I usually go watch them, they're really fun to watch. They're dynamic. So Dallas is it can be a fun team as well. For whatever it is, their number 10 is just not clicking. He got hurt last year, and now trying to make it back, and you can still see that he's not. Diaz is not 100%, so that kind of affects the whole team. That's like Ladero going down and coming back and not being Ladero anymore, as well as he was before the injury. So you get a different type of player, and your team kind of reacts a little bit differently.
And you said Seattle took advantage of it, whether that was Will Bruin, Clint Dempsey in a slightly different role, kind of drawn people away from the goal to open up space.
Yeah, full advantage. Sounders, for me, has a tremendous crowd that's behind them, too. So they know the game. They stay in the game. They stand in the game, which kind of gets on my nerves because I got to stand the whole time watching the game. So I always get Garth to give me better seats, and he does. So I really appreciate Garth a lot. He's a great guy, great friend of mine, teammate of mine as well. But when I go and watch them play, they just took full advantage of Dallas that day.
How do you feel about the Sounders heading towards the playoffs? Do you think that this is a team that can make a run? I'm not asking if they can win the MLS Cup. I think it's a little too far off for that, but can they make a playoff run?
I think the acquisitions that they've gotten in the latter stages of this year is for that purpose. It's for them to make that run. They got more experienced players, so you didn't see them going after young players that they can see a little budding star in them, and futuristically speaking, they could, come in and be the face after 3 or 4 years. They weren't going after that. They're going after players that are experienced, players that they know they're going to help them get that cup back again and keep that cup here in Seattle. So that's what they were going for. Garth is smart in that sense, and so I see them having a team that can do that.
I mean, we like to hear that.
No question.
I mean, you have a rooting interest in a different team right now, so to hear that, I mean, sadly, they're not going to be in the playoffs, but
What? And for those that don't, why is there a different interest again? Is it his son, right?
Roy Lassiter's son plays for the LA Galaxy, is one of their youngsters they signed out of the academy and grew into what he is now. Well, with a little help from his father. I'm going to guess you coached him.
I'm taking all the credit for that. Yes.
Yeah.
He's got the right DNA.
Can you? So I've heard his nickname is the Goal Puppy.
Yes, guys.
Oh, nice.
Is that because you're the dog, or is that?
That's probably because I'm the dog. Yes,
Okay.
but he's growing out of it. He wants to grow out of that and be, a bigger dog. Because puppies grow up, and that's what he said. So. Ari, I want to clarify something, because first and foremost, he didn't come through the LA Galaxy Academy. He played at Albion Soccer Club, where I was a boys director there, and I had coached Ari all the way till he got to college. He went to college at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for a year on a full scholarship, and then got picked up to play second division in Sweden. So to see our 19-year-old leave out of LAX and mom is, teary-eyed.
Oh, no question.
It's really tough. It was tough. I stayed strong, though, guys. So
held it down.
Yeah, I waited till I got in the car, whatever. But,
not in public. But
not in public. I had to keep it real.
Yeah.
But he went off and did very good. So he went off, just a small little history of that. He went off and played with Gais in the second division in Sweden. I approved that move. They saw R.A. play in college, really liked him, thought he could do very well over in Sweden. He actually went to Helsingborg and it was the first division, and was over there for 3 weeks. And I guess the assistant coach took on a second division team, and the assistant coach really liked R.A. Okay. So he took him to second, and he asked me, Dad, do I go to the second division team or do I stay with this first division team that wants to sign me as well? So I go, son, if you need to go where you're going to go play. Because if you go to Helsingborg and you're playing 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, no minutes, that's not good for just to have that tag of first division and Helsingborg on your chest than to have the experience of playing.
Yeah.
So he goes and has a scrimmage game with the second team, and he scores 2 goals day after they're ready to sign him. So,
they got a lot more interested.
A lot more. They saw a lot more in him. And that team, Gais was in last place when he went over to Sweden. They were in 16th place. They finished at the end of the season. R.A. played in the rest of the 12 games as a starter on the wing, scoring 1 goal and 5 assists. So he came in second in assists. And that team ended up in 11th place.
Wow.
So not getting relegated.
Impact,
yeah. So Galaxy saw that, called me, and then wanted to talk about getting Adi to Galaxy.
Wow.
And he was 19.
That's crazy.
You made kind of, in some ways, similar choices when you were a youngster. What does it going to Italy?
Yeah, tell us about your story and your background, how you got to where you were at. I mean, you can go as far back as you want to.
Because this was a couple years before MLS. There wasn't really a pro game in the United States. So when you were leaving college, bring us through kind of that phase of Roy Lassiter.
Especially because I'm thinking this is back in the day when, soccer was not anywhere near the radar where it is today. I mean, back then it was all about NBA, all about basketball, Jordan, maybe late 80s, 90s, and NCAA basketball. Soccer was an afterthought. So what was it like?
Yeah, it's, even fast forward just a little bit, in Major League Soccer in 1996, the only player that made $1 million was Jorge Campos.
Boom. Let's go. But yeah, no, sorry. I'm a fan. Obviously.
We're going to come back
Yes.
to Jorge
Yeah, we
Campos
will.
a
We
little
will.
later.
So for me, looking at my son where he is now, looking at how I came through, he was he'd be in diapers because I kind of didn't make that stand. I came through as a college player, and I came through 3 U.S. national team coaches: Bora Milutinovic, Steve Sampson, and Bruce Arena. So I went through 3 of them, spent 8 years with the national team. Bora picked about 50 players out of college in 1992, and we all stayed in Miami and stayed there for a month. Out of those 50 players, he picked 2, and I was one of them. And I got on the national team with Bora. I played my first game with Russia when I was 22 years old.
Wow.
And never went through the youth national team system at all. My parents couldn't afford me to play ODP. It was a lot of money. That was Olympic Development Program, which they have it here today. So they couldn't afford to do that for me. So I missed out on that experience. Then I played after my first game. Played 45 minutes. Came in for Eric Winalda against Russia, and the next day at practice, my roommate was Bruce Murray, and he ended up breaking my ankle in training.
Oh,
and so instead of being prepared, going on a 4 or 5 country trip through Central America, I'm getting on a van going home.
Jeez. With no, I mean, like there was a lot of questions. There's no future almost. That must have been scary, man. Like I'm scared thinking about that.
Yeah. I'm on a cast for 4 months and broken ankle, and but the sun does come up again, and I got a call from. They saw me practice in Miami when they were there. A team out of Costa Rica. And to be honest with you, I didn't know where Costa Rica was at the time. So
keeping it real.
Keeping it real. And they called me and said, "How's your rehab going?" I said, at that time, I was like, very well, and I still had the cast on my leg. And that next day, my brother and I cut that cast off. And I pretty much took the cast off prematurely. I still was lacking one more month.
Man. That's crazy.
I was going to rehab at Duke Medical Center, so the U.S. national team was taking well care of me on that. But I cut that cast off and was limping, and I could put weight on it.
Right.
So I was like, no, we're taking this thing off. I just got rejuvenated and really excited, as a 23-year-old, and I.
Gonna go play internationally.
I cut that sucker off.
That's crazy, man. Like the resiliency, the courage, the drive to do something like that. That's gutsy.
Yeah. To this day, my ankle still kind of doesn't look like a real ankle, but still doesn't bother me at all. It's the strongest bone in my body, probably. Yeah. My right one gets ankle twisted all the time and injured and ankle tape, but my left one just
solid.
You can twist it in. I'm back going again. But went to Costa Rica for 3 years, met my wife there, got married there, had my son after, been there for 2 years. And guys, I have to tell you, to come up and be somebody great, you got to go through some serious things.
Adversity.
And so my first year in Turrialba, in a small little town, first division, I played all first division in my professional career. I only scored 1 goal. Wow. And I was the big talk in that town, really big, coming from the national team and playing for this small town in the first division, and they were really, really good at that. And I scored 1 goal, like with the back of my head. I didn't even know I scored the goal. It was out for a corner kick or something. I looked up and it was in the back of the net. I couldn't believe it. And usually when I celebrate, I don't even get all emotional, but that time I did. A couple months later, I got cut from the team.
Jeez.
10 days left in the season, I got cut from the team. And it's a story that I was able to tell my son. Got cut from the team. And this was before I actually got married. And then I told my before wife I was going back home and that I would come back. She did not believe me. She didn't believe she'd see me again.
Wow.
And my personality is to never leave something undone. And I got really mad and said, no, I'm definitely coming back. After a month, I went to the United States, went home. I needed to go home. I needed to feel home.
Yeah, I mean,
I needed to be
the
around
culture shock, being in
family.
another country, another language,
and
nobody that you know. Of course, you're gonna have to have that way to recoup and be with family.
Yeah.
And then go back to finish business.
Yeah, I didn't know Spanish, so I learned Spanish in 6 months. I understood it in 6 months. I knew how to speak it in a year. Now I speak fluent Spanish.
¿Hablas español?
Sí, señor.
Sí, todo completo,
Sí,
natural.
completo.
Bueno,
Sí.
de ahora en adelante vamos a platicar en español. El show is going to be in Spanish from now on, folks.
Todo
Me
bien.
encanta esta oportunidad.
¿Y David?
No tenemos muchas oportunidades.
¿Y David?
Sí,
Sí.
hay que
Okay.
intentarlo. Let's try it. Why
Vamos.
not?
No. I would struggle a lot.
It's all right.
Three of us would be okay. You guys would be
But in
really
6
good,
months,
but
you learned Spanish.
Well, I had to. I mean, I could only smile at the jokes. I didn't understand them. So I had to. There were some of my teammates that spoke kind of English and Spanish. So they were from, that little kind of at the edge of the country, and they knew how to speak a little bit of English to get by well. And I was surprised at that, and it became fun at that. But I came back, got married, went to look for a team to play for. When I was at Turrialba in Costa Rica, I earned probably the highest salary that they've ever paid anybody. But then when I came back, I had to look for a team, guys. And
was this like 94?
This was like 90.
2 and 93.
93.
Yeah.
3.
Wow.
So I looked for a team, got paid little, but I didn't care. I wanted to get on the field. That year, still first division, small team, I scored 7 goals. So I started feeling better about myself and playing all the time. And then the top team in Costa Rica picked me up and called Liga Deportiva Alajuelense. And they're a huge team, one of the best teams in Costa Rica. And they signed me, gave me the number 10 jersey. So see how God is good on that side. But I ended up scoring 17 goals and becoming Foreign Player of the Year. And check this out. My wife had told me I had a phone call. And I was like, from who? She goes, Steve Sampson. I was like, no. I thought she was really joking. She said, yeah, you got a call from Steve Sampson today. I said, what? And I couldn't believe it. And he said, yeah, don't worry. He said he called back. Guess where I was the rest of the day?
Next to the phone.
Right beside it. He called me back that evening. I probably picked up the phone before it got the full ring. And it was him. And we talked. And he said he was calling me into the national team and called me into the Parmalat Cup. And I ended up scoring in that Parmalat Cup against Parma. It was a good one. And from there on, Nike signed me to a contract, and their own MLS was good to start the next year. At this time, it was 1995. And so I did. I ended up signing with Major League Soccer. It was a transfer fee of $100,000. Major League Soccer paid for it. I got to choose the team I wanted to play for. Since my wife spoke Spanish, I wanted to be around, more of a where people spoke Spanish. So I didn't want to be in Kansas City.
Yeah, so you were thinking L.A., maybe Dallas.
Texas.
I didn't think of L.A. My wife had never been to the United States, so I was thinking, let's stay D.C. I'm from North Carolina, so I have family in D.C. I was born in D.C., so it was between D.C. and Tampa. And I said, well, I think it should be Tampa right now because probably more people speak Spanish and my wife can get by. But, she needed to learn English. But yeah, I thought it was going to be easier for her. So I was really thinking about her. Carlos Valderrama had signed there before, famous Colombian. And so I thought
that guy was okay.
he was okay.
Yeah.
Just average. They only have a big statue of him in Colombia.
Yeah.
So I thought, I could learn under him and score a lot of goals with him. And so that's how my MLS career started.
Wow.
That thought kind of worked out a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a lot of assists. You had a lot of goals.
Yeah. For sure. For sure.
Like when I think of Valderrama, I think of a guy who he didn't really move a lot. He didn't really need to, because he would see space that no one else could see, except for the forward that he was feeding the ball to. Like his vision and ability to thread a ball is still, like, I think he could probably hit those passes right now. He'd move even less than he did then, but
He'd do the Pirlo and just stay in one spot and kind of just line up balls.
Pirlo tried it, but I think really there are only two players that did that well, and that's Valderrama and then Catamonte Blanco. Yeah. When he was in Chicago, had that similar style, and it worked. It's not one that I would necessarily want from a youth soccer player, but because you want them to move, but man, it's magic when you watch highlights from that '96 season, and you pull up some Carlos Valderrama.
Yeah. So I was fortunate that Carlos Valderrama was my roommate for 2 years and my next door neighbor for 2 years. And when I went off and played in Kansas City, when I was in Miami, I ended up buying his home because the league wanted him to go be in Miami or another place. But, we had to do things like that. I had to move to Miami from D.C. after scoring 18 goals each season. And I'm thinking to myself, why would you ever move a player that scored 18 goals a season? As a coach, I probably would never do that. But the league forced DC United to do that. League maximum, I didn't want it. I ended up getting fined $20,000 for not showing up for 45 days because I didn't want to go.
Ooh. Hold on.
Eventually, I did go, but I always spoke to the coach out of respect. The coach understood my position, and I guess I was just rebellious at that time. Still, that's why, again, they called me the dog. I was still, still.
You're keeping it real, though. You're looking out for your perspective.
Yeah, that's how it was, guys.
That was all. It was so much a marketing base. Like, for all the criticism that MLS gets now about marketing decisions, then, like, every player trade was about how can this maximize the marketing aspect. Like, Valderrama to Miami was basically just, we need to get him in front of more Colombians.
For sure.
And that's what they did with you. They were trying to maximize seating. And nowadays that happens a little less frequency. Admittedly, we took a little bit of advantage of the marketing decision for Clint Dempsey. He said he wanted to go to one of three places, and it was basically the three highest attendance at the time.
The stunts are a little different now. That was like, we signed Andrew Shue and put him on the LA Galaxy. Slight difference.
If you're not old enough, Andrew Shue was on, like, Melrose Place. Thank you.
Hold on. Seriously?
Google it.
No.
And he was an okay college soccer player, but
Oh, my
they
God.
signed him.
Filling slots.
They did
Yeah.
have that one good move to sign my boy Campos, though. Let's go. I want to talk about that. That's a
They
great
sold
segue.
so many Umbros because of that.
I bet.
All the giant Umbros of all time.
So did you first play against him on the national team side or MLS?
Both. First probably Major League Soccer side, but I played both when I played against Mexico like 4 or 5 times.
Did you play in Azteca?
Yes.
What was it like? Do you remember?
It's 160,000 people.
Man. Was it?
That was before they made it an all-seater. They just threw as many people in there as they could.
That thing was like pouring over. I thought people were going to fall out of the stadium. It was just, you couldn't hear your teammate talk. I mean, like 10 yards from you. You really had to yell.
Bring back that Azteca, please. Oh,
nah.
That's
called unsafe standing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's it. So,
Anyway.
do you remember your first goal on him, scoring on him?
Yeah, I do. Amongst many other goals.
This is what we talked about pre-show.
How many other 2 or 3 maybe?
Probably about 5.
5, damn.
Couple PKs.
Did you ever give him a little? Oh, dang.
Oh.
What was your most memorable one, or one that at least you can quickly?
I like the one that I scored on him there in the Rose Bowl when they were playing in the Rose Bowl, and he came out and he actually, I was going to take a shot. He actually laid down like to kind of throw me off a bit, and all I did was just chip it right over him. But he just laid down on me, and I just tipped it right over him. So, it's one of those Mexican goalkeeper moves, like they
trying to
like
be
do it
cheeky a
hockey
little
style,
bit,
and trying to
I'm
go
gonna
down.
get you. And then,
It was early, a little bit ego from him.
Yeah, he was just being Jorge. Jorge is just
He was a
collar
showman.
up, and and he could play soccer too. He could play with his feet well.
Yeah.
So he was a jokester off the field, on the field. He was the same way. He didn't change.
I was just watching his highlight video because it was his birthday either yesterday or Saturday, so people were putting up highlight videos. And they had the highlight of when they sub on a goalkeeper so he could be the forward late in the game, and he'd have to change the shirt so that he could change positions. And that, I mean, you
so
want a
awesome.
symbol of characters right there.
Yeah.
And you're talking about his $1 million contract, and he had the sports car.
Ferrari.
Yeah, he was out. He was a rock star playing for the
Soccer
LA
in
Galaxy.
America.
Oh,
Yeah.
he was huge. He was huge, and he's still commentating and doing his thing. So he's still well known. Well known.
So in 1996, you scored a few goals.
Just a couple.
We watched a number of them.
couple.
Yeah,
Open
we started off the
Just-
show with MLS had produced a highlight video. I think in 2012. I think that was when Chris Wondolowski was approaching the record. MLS put together videos just to remind everybody a little bit about the history. So if you're a Sounders fan who's new to MLS, Royce set the goal scoring record in a 32-game season, 27 goals. And two players in our recent history have managed to tie it, but not surpass it.
21 years.
You proud of that? When you see them when you see a player, Bradley Wright Phillips, Chris Wondolowski, when they get up around 25 goals, do you start thinking about what it'll mean for your legacy?
Well, it's not that much. Maybe when Major League Soccer calls me and then they send me a flight to go watch one of them potentially break my goal, which they did. Wondolowski was there, 27th in Major League Soccer, flew me in to, be a part of his maybe break the record game, and they didn't, and I was laughing.
Thanks for the flight.
Thanks for the flight and the trip to San Jose.
Was it a good? I was about to ask if it was a good hotel, but then you said San Jose, so no.
Yeah.
There is a Fairmont. It's pretty good, but
That's so awesome.
So that reminds me of when Major League Baseball flew Hank Aaron around for that race, that home run race, and eventually he had to see it fall.
Yeah, but then they're going to treat the guy that makes 28 goals like they're going to build a big statue of him when he does it one time, and the record's been there for 21 years. And I don't even think I've gotten a jacket, or even a letter, or I don't think I've gotten it because actually I tried to break that myself. I tried to do that myself in 1999. When DC United won the Cup, halfway through the season, I had 15 goals.
Wow.
And I was hearing rumors of me getting traded because of the league and sending me down to Miami. That's when I kept hearing that. As you all know, the All-Star break is always in the middle of the season. Mm-hmm. Well, I had 15 goals in the middle of the season, so I was on par to even break that and bust that wide open. That's what I was trying to do. But I got disturbed and off track. Still one of the lessons that I teach my son. Just don't get mad about what people say and do in the sport to change your love and your passion of the game, because that will feed on the field. And I let it feed on the field. From the halfway point to the end of the season, I only scored 3 goals.
Was it because of the rumors?
Rumors and Thomas Rongen never gave me a clear answer. He kept saying, no, you're not going anywhere. There's no way we're letting you go anywhere. And after we won the Cup, I wanted to talk to him and have a meeting. And sure enough, we went to his meeting. I went with my wife, and sure enough, he told me that the league wanted to move me to Miami. My wife cried. I mean, I was like, Thomas, I don't want any salary, raising salary. I don't want anything. I want to stay right here in D.C. Man, I was having 25 people come to my game, to my family members.
Yeah. I mean, your community.
You
That's
were
your
born
people.
I
there.
could score. I was born right across the street.
Yeah.
Wait, and so you
From
won
DC United, from RFK, I was born
you
right
won
across
the
the street.
league, and you won what's now CCL.
Won the Champions Cup.
Oh yeah, we won.
Plus, there was another tournament that you won as well in that team. So that team won 3 pieces of hardware,
This is
and
correct.
they were
Man.
talking about shipping you.
That's the original
The
dynasty
MLS needs to
in
start
MLS. was
honoring
that,
its legends. You
that-
know, the
that
MLS
DC
needs to
team.
do some
Yeah.
legend recognition. That's some craziness.
one of the things. I mean, one of the things that we need to be better about, particularly in Seattle, where we don't recognize the history, is particularly that '96 to 2000 era. We sometimes forget about how good it was because we're talking about Valderrama and Campos, Roy, Chris Henderson, like the players. One of the advantages of only having 10 and 12 teams was they were stacked. Every team was stacked with legends from the '96 World Cup, the U.S. national team. I mean, every commentator in the league, basically, Alexi was on those rosters. We need to be better about recognizing
right,
that
man.
history because
You're-
it's before us.
Yeah, you're right.
And so we sometimes forget.
It's as much us as it is the league.
And heck, Brad Friedel, he had I was in the Army at that time, and so for some reason, I listened to the Columbus Crew radio broadcasts on Mark Cuban's broadcast.com.
Oof. Speaking of
because my
Columbus, we have
roommate-
breaking news on Columbus Crew right now. But we'll come back to that. Breaking news: their owner might move him to Austin, Texas.
What?
Yeah.
if they can't get a downtown stadium, then they're going to move in 2019.
And to Austin?
Yeah.
I've got lots of thoughts about that.
Grant-
but
Yeah.
we're gonna-
Wall.
whoa.
just
Wow.
broke on Twitter.
Not even to Cincinnati, because that would
Good.
make a little bit more sense. Okay, thanks for double checking on that. That's what. Yeah, so I was
Anyway.
I was listening to Crew games all the time because my roommate played pickup basketball with Brian McBride when they were at St. Louis University. When you don't have a local MLS team, you have to find a reason to support something. So I grew up listening to games with McBride and Friedel, and that was kind of the Crew were my team for 5-6 years basically until I moved back to Seattle. But we don't. Not only does the league not, but we need to do better about recognizing this league's history because it's there are lots of great moments. There's a 27-goal season. There's the DC United with Echeverry.
Yeah.
They put together, winning the Champions Cup.
Damn, that's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Talk about like this. I'll own up to it. Like I don't know as much about that era. I just don't. But this is definitely planted a seed on me to do my due diligence and show some appreciation because the league wouldn't be where it's at today. We wouldn't have this show. We wouldn't be having this if it weren't for that.
And there were some hard
era,
times
man.
too. There was the rapid growth, and then all of a sudden, 2 teams disappeared out from under you. You went through watching and observing that. What was that like when MLS shrank?
Yeah, we lost Tampa
And Miami.
And Miami. We lost them both. So now you see how hard it is for David Beckham to really, with all the power and prestige and money that he has, it's hard for even him to get that going there. And that's fizzled down. That was supposed to be like one of the next organizations to come in
It's
the
been the
league
next expansion team for
the
about
last
6 years.
6 years. Yeah, exactly. So you see how hard that is, and that market should be flying, right? Should be flying. You get the right people in there. It should be absolutely, outstanding where everybody wants to really play. But it's been tough for whatever reason.
You talked about your internal motivation. You tried to best yourself. The motivation of players moving abroad or staying at home has been a topic around Major League Soccer always, but particularly in the past week with the U.S. national team loss, Jermaine Jones calling out Jordan Morris.
Man,
Motivation is a funny thing in that things motivate different people. You got motivated by your own success. You talked about your son getting motivated because he went overseas, and that showed him some things about himself and tested him because he had to compete. Is there one path that's right for everybody, or is it more about an individual decision? Or would you recommend, you talk to hundreds of youth soccer players every week. Do you have a general guideline about how to improve, or?
Everybody can't go the Europe route. They just can't. They're just not there. And hence, that's why we have Major League Soccer for our youth players here in the United States. England starts out very, very young, and they try to keep theirs very, very young. Holland starts very, very young, and they have a set margin for how much they pay a player to keep them there and to develop that player. I think they get accelerated development in another country. Yes, I do, because here we're still bringing over professional players, whether they're in their prime or just past their prime. We're still bringing them over here, but are they the ones that really challenge our youth players?
Right.
I wouldn't go Jermaine Jones route to Jordan Morris. No, I wouldn't. I think Jordan Morris is developing. I think he's developing. I see him getting better. And would he have gotten better in Germany? Maybe. Who knows? I don't know. But that was a choice that Jordan made. I think being around family is important. And I think once you gain a little bit more experience, then you're able to go out. Because I think he can still go out, whether Seattle would allow him to go out or not.
Right.
They may loan him out and then see what happens. Because, us Major League Soccer teams also got to remember they got to be in the market of selling. Though, why are you developing a player if are you going to go and develop him to win championships? Or are you going to sell him because it's still a business, right?
Oh, yeah.
Still
Yeah. That's
so most of them are shelling out a lot of money instead of getting a lot of money, because these other countries, they develop their players to sell them. They do. They develop them really well, and then they showcase them really well. They put them in the spotlight. They put them on the field, let them show what they can do, and all of a sudden, the younger, the smaller clubs in these foreign countries, now they're ready to sell because that's the type of business they're about.
And is it in comparing other countries, like when you played in Costa Rica and, just from you being in soccer all these years, do you see other countries just having more kids playing volume-wise at a really young age as why they just have more in their farm systems that end up having just better players at a young age? Or why are other countries different, not necessarily better than here when we have a system? We just have a younger developmental system is what I think. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. All right. Here's my thoughts on that, because first and foremost, in this country, before we started getting our licenses a little bit different. Now, U.S. soccer is a little bit different in terms of how they're teaching in their licenses now.
Okay.
All right, a little bit different. Old generation is fizzling out. In foreign countries, they give more freedom to play, whereas here, we're always go here, play here. You're in this position. You can only go this and do this and only pass within here, where in foreign, hey, no one taught Messi. No one taught Neymar. No one taught Cristiano Ronaldo. They can all say, hey, we developed him. We did. No, those cats knew how to play because they had freedom to play.
Yeah.
No one really joysticked them and said, no, you play forward, but you can only run like this and only run like this, because we're trying to run the game.
Right.
The U.S., we're always, even as youth development coaches, you're trying to win the game. Well, I'm proud to say, even at my club now, Pac Northwest, winning the game is not first. The development of the game is first. And then, but you also got to let players be players. You got to let them have their own character. So if I see a player that's good on the dribble, man, keep dribbling. If I see a player that knows how to take good shots, man, keep taking shots. If I see a defender that knows how to shut down players really good, man, keep on doing it. And because those are attributes that players have to have, and that's called personality.
Right, and that's separately of them being, targeted to become a forward. So that might be someone that originally thought they were going to be a forward, but they're a stellar defender, so they're a shutdown defender. So you're saying let them have the freedom to change routes, not be stuck on that route, and thrive in the skills where they're really more
exactly. But I think it's the coach's fault here in the United States where it's their pride and ego in terms of they need to win the game. See, an experienced coach goes beyond that. I'm gonna have a bigger picture than that. I'm gonna develop you so one day you can go out and be in college, but be successful in college. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm developing you so you'll have the mindset and the skill sets to go on and play at higher levels. I'm not worried about you at U12 trying to win a game. I'm not worried about that, but I'm worried about you developing within the game, right? Gotcha. I'm worried about you bringing out your skill sets, putting it in the same scheme of a team, but bringing out the skill sets. So I think too many of us coaches in the United States, we want to win. Well, we bypass the development part for the player to actually get it. Then when he gets to higher levels and can't cope with certain scenarios of the game, now he's done. Now he's fizzled out. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In Europe, they do it skill size. They teaching that player how to dribble well. They teaching them how to get out of tight situations. They teaching them how to play out of the back and don't worry about it. Roll it out of the back and solve the problem of getting out of the back instead of the goalkeeper punting this ball all the way down the field so I can get it to my big number 9 so he can get the ball turned and put the ball in the back of the net. Whoa, what's in between that?
Right.
That's the difference. And I'm not saying every youth coach in the United States does that, but the majority of them do.
Woof.
This is a big reason why we're having Roy on tonight is because he's the director of coaching at Pac Northwest. For those of you who don't know, that's basically the largest club team here in the South King County. They play right at Starfire. Easy access to the Seattle Sounders. They're one of the Seattle Sounders affiliated clubs for the youth. He's the director of coaching as well as the head coach of 2 different age levels. And there's lots of thoughts about what's going on with American soccer right now because of that loss, which had both short-term problems about that specific game and helped highlight long-term problems. One of the things we wanted to address tonight was some of the long-term problems with U.S. soccer, and that's about youth development. And so let's get a youth coach in. And so Roy has been with the U20s as an assistant coach for the U.S. national team at that level, with Pac Northwest, director of coaching. Technical director is Leighton O'Brien, former Seattle Sounder of the USL era, won a couple titles under Brian Schmetzer. Roy has also worked with the Kitsap Pumas, and next season going to be with OSA in the also in the NPSL. So when he's talking about youth, he's talking anywhere from Pac. I think you guys are starting at 6 years old, all the way up now with OSA. You're going to be at the 23s. Wow. So a lot of exposure to some kids whose path are playing well, some kids that are going to play in college, some kids that are going to be professional. And you have to customize that as a coach to understand what's best at all of those levels, because not everybody at Pac Northwest is going to be a college player.
No. But we definitely teach that can be their pathway. That they can do that. So because that's the next progression, to be honest with you. From youth, not many people are going from youth to pros. They're going from youth to college to pros, if that. And so there's tons of years of development. You have to develop the mind. So if the mind is weak, but my kid is fast, if my kid is fast, there's going to be a day that you're going to need to use your intelligence to get by a player, to know when to dribble and when to do a first touch and when to two-touch and when to shoot. So you're going to need to know all of that. So U.S. soccer now is taking the IQ player instead of the big muscle player that can just kick the ball around the player and just go around him, because on an international level, that ain't going to work. You're going to meet your match. And if you cannot be able to use your IQ and your skill sets to make good decisions on the field, because it's going to come down to discernment. If you can't discern when to do certain things on the field and make good decisions, you're not going to be at that high level, and that's the bottom line. And so a lot of players today at 14, you can see them being very, very good. Man, they're so far from being at a top level, it ain't funny. They don't know that. Parents don't know that, so because things can change in between. A lot of things can change from U14 all the way to U19. There's a whole lot of things that can change. The body, how they grow, and everything. So if they're not getting the small details of the game to help them, then they're not going to make it to that next level. They will fizzle out, and they'll look superb. They'll even college look kind of superb, but then they'll even fizzle out from there. So there's a lot of development going on, and I don't have to just develop the player. I got to educate the parent, because the parent is with the player more than I am. And so when I get the parent on the same page as me, I'm not saying they have to agree, but I'm saying that they have to have some type of comparison, so they go, I see where Roy is thinking on this level. I see that. So they don't have to agree, but I understand that these kids are their prime pride and joy. I understand that, and they got a sphere around this player every time he plays. I know that. I did the same thing. I'm a parent, but a coach that is thinking way ahead of the game. I need to help the parent, because, the parent always thinks that they're, it's just a safeguard. And no, you can't safeguard the player all the time. Let this player make the mistake. Let this player go through the struggle. Let this player figure it out. Let this player solve the problem, because if you don't, there come a time where you can say whatever you want to say, but the player is not going to make it. Because you know why? Because they're going to confront this European player, this Central American player, this South American player that is soccer savvy, that is hard nosed, that can play hard and fast, and has good skill. So how are you going to beat that?
And a Mexican player too.
I have Mexican players in South America as well too, Central America, North America.
It sounds like a lot of the education you're talking about is, some of it's just generational, because when you're talking about parents, they're not growing up in the environment where they had that education. Yeah. And so now they're getting that education for the first time, because when they were a youth soccer player,
you got to develop the
I was
parents.
a youth soccer player at Kent Parks and Recreation. My dad decided to coach us because the other coach quit, and my dad was from Ohio at the time. He was a sharpshooter. That was his sport in high school. So his soccer knowledge wasn't there, but all the kids in the neighborhood wanted to play soccer. So he started reading books, and that's how he became a coach. And somehow he actually produced a professional player who played for the A-League Sounders. I have no idea how, because he literally read books.
Well, listen, again, going back to that, a player is going to make it because they want to.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They're going to make it because they absolutely want to. Even if they possess all the skill in the world, if the drive isn't there, it's going to be gone. Eventually, it'll be gone, and the opportunity will be gone. And they'll change things. I'm going to go my education. I'm going to go be a whatever. But instead of going to be a professional soccer player like they once had in their mind when they were younger, you see? So the drive has to be there. And I think a very good coach teaches them how to have that drive, how to battle in the game first, because the game is a battle, man. It is not nice, and everybody's kicking one another, and everybody's elbowing and pushing and doing all kinds of things to win, right? To win. So if you don't arm these kids up mentally, then eventually they will fizzle out.
That's right where we started, too, when we're talking about Will Bruin and his goal, and being essentially NFL tackled from that was an arm tackle in the NFL. Like, Pete Carroll would have been proud of that, trying to prevent it, and he still managed to get just enough of his leg on that to get the ball in the net. When you're talking about Will Bruin,
Will's Will.
You talk about that. You talk about, that's about heart. You talk about the head and figuring it out and an intellectual approach to the game, and then obviously the physique. And one thing that America's been great at is physique. And you're talking in this generation, we had a lot of heart in our past generations to match that physique. And now we're trying to layer on an intelligence and an understanding and a creativity into the game. And that's really something that we're probably seeing with maybe our 25 and unders is where that's first really appearing, where they're starting. Pulisic is the clearest example, but there are others out there. Before the show, we were talking about the U17s, and some of these guys are doing stuff on the ball that are 25, 28, 30-year-old MLS players don't really think of doing.
Well, they should be, they should be having opportunity with the national team. Pulisic is where he is because, his experience where he is. He's day in and day out. He's around top level players. And so he can come over here and you look at him and he looks outstanding. But he's been over there. You go to a normal training session where he is and he's going to blend in. But here, he's going to come. He's going to stand out. This kid's got a lot of experience even as a youth because of the environment that he's in and day out. Well, our young players too as well, you got to throw them in the fire, and we're not doing it. We're just relying on old wheels, and these old wheels are still good. They're still good, but I mean the heart part is not coming out enough. The drive part, the desire part. Person like Rodon for me should have been in this national team camp and had minutes in here, and I mean I watch him with Seattle, and it's hard to get by this guy.
I think his broken arm might. I'm wondering, and I hope somebody asks Bruce someday about it, is because he was played through that broken arm at Philadelphia, and obviously the cast and the pain. I talked to him after that game, and he said it was what limited him. 50% was just the heavy cast on his arm, and 50% was the pain. Hopefully that's the reason he wasn't there, because if the reason that Christian Roldan wasn't with the national team is that Bruce Arena didn't think he was good enough, I don't know. I'm a little bit biased because, one, I've known Christian now for, 3 years. I've been watching him locally.
Yeah, his
I see him at
progression is
practices,
amazing.
and honestly, his attitude spoils anybody who meets him. So it's hard to judge him fairly.
No, he's genuine.
Well,
he's genuine.
Don't you think it's more of he wanted to stick with the names and the players he kind of knew and had already played with, and didn't want to take a
He being
chance?
Bruce Arena?
Yeah.
It was a safe roster.
Right.
It was a safe roster.
it was safe.
He didn't take risks.
No. And I mean,
Unfortunately, it was a really big risk in the end.
Well,
No, it was the same. It was the same 11. He didn't take any risk. He ran the same 11.
Bruce was a safe risk.
But was that his?
Boom.
You knew him when he was first coming up.
Bruce
Obviously.
is my favorite coach.
He had a pretty good
is
year.
my favorite coach. I mean, really, he is. I mean, if we want to go on that topic, I mean, for me, do I think Bruce did the right thing by stepping down? Not really. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, he's the head of it all, and he has to take it as the captain of the ship. He has to take the losses with the wins, and so you do. But that doesn't make him. He's done some phenomenal things for this country. Yes, and his job was to get the national team to the World Cup. That was bottom line. That was before anything else. Don't go beyond that. The job for Bruce Arena was to get the team to the World Cup. And so since that did not happen, Bruce did the right thing. He steps down because Bruce is a winner, man. Bruce is a winner. He recognizes that. He goes, hey, that's like me when I got older and I see the young cats coming up and they're just coming through and they're running, and now training becomes a job. No, it's time for me to go. But for me, Bruce shouldn't have stepped down from that. Player decisions and, what have you. I still think there weren't enough younger ones that were coming up being a part of that. But, that's just it's a tremendous loss for us all around, marketing-wise, financial-wise, advertising-wise, player opportunity-wise. Just a whole lot of money is gone. And attention to and our credibility from Major League Soccer is kind of tarnished just a little, just set back just a little bit. Will we bounce back? Yes, we're Americans. We're gonna bounce back, but it's a tough one, and it's gonna take us years to recuperate that.
One of those losses that you'll deal with as a coach of the youth is that they're not looking at Americans in 2018, and obviously, as somebody you've worn the red, white, and blue. You have a little bit of pride in representing the nation, and so that there's going to be a gap there where there are kids that aren't looking, and there are a lot of dual nationals. I know that's a topic that's been coming up a lot lately, where there are players that have the opportunity to play for other nations. Your son had that opportunity; he had the choice. When you see that, and the U.S. isn't there. There are some players that are going to make the choice that says, you know what, I'm not going to represent the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, my son has dual citizenship with Costa Rica. He's played with the U20s in Costa Rica, played with the U20s with the U.S. national team, played with the U23s U.S. team, played with the U23s Costa Rica, played in a Toulon tournament in France, which is a U23 like World Cup.
Wow.
Scored against Kuwait there with Costa Rica. So a lot of his heart is Costa Rica. But if U.S. came knocking, he still has a choice to make. He still hasn't played a senior national team for either country. So I guess first come, first serve, and you just go from there. But you're right. There's a lot of duels and and I guess Jurgen was trying to find that. He was trying to see that. He was trying to see every last person in every country besides the U.S. almost. So I do like that, and I don't like that. I think the experience from those guys are great, but you don't get them enough. You don't get them enough all at one time to kind of mold and put it all together. Where if they're in the United States, it's a little bit different. You can get them easier. You can have them along periods of time and kind of put things together before an event. So I don't know. There was no consistency with the lineups or personnels, and I kept seeing a player that I'd never seen before. Doesn't mean it was bad. It just didn't mean bad, but I only saw him one time, and then I kind of didn't see him again. If he was good, I don't care where he's from. If he's American or half American, whatever. If he's going to help our U.S. team, we need to get him. That's just bottom line.
I've slung a lot of shade at Jermaine Jones, probably because he called out Jordan specifically lately.
Let him know,
but
man.
At the same point, what he did when he came into the U.S. national team, when he chose, he gave up on growing up as a kid. His dream was Germany, and he chose eventually, because of Jurgen, to rep the U.S. And when he did that, he anchored that midfield so well. And when he first did that, Jermaine Jones and Michael Bradley together, they created a wall in front of the defensive wall. Like, you weren't going to get through those two at the same time. So Jermaine eventually became a great U.S. national team player. But there are others of those dual nationals where they kind of drifted around a little bit. And you said, like, you saw him for like a game. Timmy Chandler was one that, like, you'd see him and then, like, he'd disappear for a year. And you'd be like, what happened to the right back of the future?
I think we just didn't. Jermaine is not going to play forever. He's a solid player, but I don't think we ever develop a younger player coming up behind him.
Right.
We need to do that. Pulisic came along, and that was great. That was the next Pat Ramos or somebody around, Claudio Reyna, somebody around, Landon Donovan. He was after Landon, right?
Yeah.
So we had that. We never got substitutions or players coming up development for our wingers or our backs, and we kept seeing all kinds of different ones. And so, these guys age out. It's rarely that you see the same guy there for 2 or 3 World Cups. And so we have to take it from our U23s. It's just disappointing that our 20s, our U23s, and now our national senior team, are not advancing. So for whatever reason that is, we have to look deeper into our youth development and find a way.
When we talk about youth development, you've obviously paid a lot of attention to it, one as a father and two as a U20 coach. Who's the young player that people aren't talking about yet that we should be paying attention to? I think people are starting to get on to Andrew Carlton because of Atlanta United, Timmy Way because of his dad. Obviously, people are into him quite a bit. What's kind of that next name that we should be paying attention to, whether at the U17 tournament or kind of a U20-ish, that we should be tracking right now as kind of the future?
Well, I think Salcedo there in Real Salt Lake, I think he's we call him Bofo. I think he's
Bofo?
He's a good little player.
Shaved head guy?
I like him. I think U.S. should continue to look at players like that. Paul Arriola. I think he's another good player coming up. good experience down in Mexico, and now part of DC United is coming through, and could be another one. I don't know too many of the 17s to list for you or to wrap off to you because I haven't really witnessed them a lot. Kid out of Portland, forward out of Portland. I forget his name there. Just blanked my mind there. But he
grew up there. Ruben Rubio?
No, he got drafted and went there.
Oh,
from Duke.
Abuese.
Yeah, that's it. So he's another good one coming through the Portland. Obviously he's playing behind Adi, so that's going to be real tough.
So, tough to earn time against.
Playing behind Maddox and all those guys, so that's going to be really tough. I just and also your Rodons is playing, your Jordans are playing. I mean, those are really the guys that are in line. Not the U17 guy. He's still kind of coming up and. The experience is still from college. From college to professional is like 0, 0 to 10. The college player coming into a MLS team, he's starting at 0, and then those MLS players are at 10. So it's a lot of it's only a rarity that a player is coming up. Jordan Morris did it because he was having experience with the national team, so he was getting that experience, and then when he finally came through. From Stanford, then he get right to Sounders, and he looks like he's nearly even with the rest of them because of his experience of where he was and where he was training. So that's just how I see it. But again, I know our U.S. national team will bounce back. I know we'll get the right person in there. Do I think it needs to be a U.S. coach? Do I think it needs to be an American coach? I don't know. It takes the right one. I like Tab Ramos a lot. I think he does well with the players and all that kind of stuff. But for me, it almost needs to go high now. It needs to go high now. I mean, how do you trump Bruce? Bruce.
You're talking like a big, bold selection.
If Bruce trumped Jurgen, who's going to trump Bruce? I mean, so you really got needs to time. Sunil's going to have time to think about that one if he's still around to do it. But I don't know.
I don't think he's going to be around. But that's just me, and I'm an outsider.
We're about 20-some minutes left in the scheduled show. Do you want to take a little detour down into the land of fun for a little bit, and then we'll get back to some serious topics to wrap it up? Does that sound okay for everybody?
Yeah.
SonarFeed has a tradition we call the questions. These are rapid fire,
Hot
which,
seat.
as we've learned, Roy can be verbose.
Yeah, I don't think I'm good at this.
No,
you're doing just fine.
Dude, yeah, you're awesome. This has been great, man. This is I'm
really
just
when
soaking
we
it all
stop
in.
talking and we're just like we're gonna listen.
Yeah, we're just gonna shut
That's
up
when
right
it's-
now.
the
It's
less we
going.
talk, the better the show
better
is.
this
Yeah,
show is.
basically.
Trust
Ratings
me,
go
a lot
up.
of folks have been waiting to hear you speak on what you just spoke about. So it's been great.
Ugo, can you hit it off with your
No
your lead off
question. The
the
most
questions?
important question, and being that you have experience in Latin America, what is your favorite kind of taco?
Fish taco.
Ooh, nice, solid answer. What kind of fish? Breaded or unbreaded? Grilled.
Grilled.
Grilled. Ooh, nice. Yeah, and that's because of Costa Rica, man. Seafood and fish, not this breaded stuff. That's where it's at. Nice. I like that.
David.
I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go, do you have a favorite Girl Scout cookie? Oh.
The caramel coconut one.
This is the answer of somebody who doesn't treat themselves to dessert very often.
No, not often. But I like the peanut butter cookies.
The tagalong. Wow, you're in the
That's
10%
multiple
right there with me.
tagalongs.
Yeah, that's
this
good.
This year we got a lot.
Normally, the conflict is between the Samoas, the coconut chocolate one, and the Thin Mint.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
No.
Well, there's a reason I
what's
didn't
your
phrase
favorite
it that
Girl
way,
Scout
because
cookie,
I'm a
and
tagalong
why
guy.
is it
Yeah.
Thin Mints?
And why is it? No.
All right, so
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. Producer knows.
we're not doing that.
Already did.
Which historical figure would you like to go in a bouncy house with? This question used to just be, what
Me.
historical figure do you identify with? But this is better.
Can this question be multiple choice?
Sure.
You want
It is
us
now.
to select people?
Please.
All right, Ugo.
I'm going to go with Jorge Campos.
Abraham Lincoln.
Tom?
It's really hard to top either of those. I'm like, Muhammad Ali.
Bouncy House.
Yeah. Muhammad.
There you go.
Excellent.
Okay. I'm going to go with music. Tupac or Biggie? No pressure. I mean, you already. That's what I thought. I mean, that's a great choice. He is the East Coast man, and
You know what's a great choice? Either one.
no question, no question. Favorite Biggie song?
Can't come to mind.
Juicy?
No.
No.
Multiple choice.
Hypnotized.
Let me come back to that.
we don't.
I only go with Juicy.
I'm a West Coast guy, so I don't really
Yeah.
know any big.
Big Papa.
Oh, I like Big Papa.
Nice.
It's nice.
Nice.
Better hair. Cristiano Ronaldo or
Carlos Valderrama.
Cristiano.
Oh, I did not see that coming.
Someday Valderrama's going to hear that, and he's going to call you up and he's going to be like,
Yeah. Come on, man.
Is he on Twitter?
He's probably like, I thought you kept it real. Let's go.
I'm not even going to go over this story that I had to help him out with that.
Please. Please.
Nah.
You had to help
Do
him
it.
with his hair?
Do
I
it.
did.
You did?
Yeah, but I'll keep that to myself.
Oh, no. Share. A lot of hairspray, I take it.
That might wind up in the after show when the microphones are
Yeah,
on.
that's right. Let's bring this man a beer.
The last book that you read.
Bible.
Nice.
like that.
When the Royal Astor story is made into a movie, who plays you?
Which actor?
I'd like to do it, but
There you go. Hey, that's the
We'll
answer.
talk to Joe Roth.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Will Smith.
Could be. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
I don't know. I just got
Denzel?
that. I was thinking about that.
Maybe Denzel,
That
because
sounds
he can
good.
be a dog. He
Yeah.
can be.
Oh, yeah.
So
we saw
far,
it.
you cannot go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
I was thinking maybe like younger Morgan Freeman. Might be a little late for him to do the Royal Astor story now, but if we could find a way to
Morgan is absolutely very good. You know,
Favorite athlete growing up?
Romario.
Oh,
Great.
Nice.
I think that might be the first selection of Romario.
Yeah, I agree.
That's fun.
he played everywhere. That was a guy that like people had to take a ball away from to get him to stop. Like he was going to play.
He's probably
forever.
playing right now.
Isn't he the one that he claims he scored like 1,400 goals?
He has.
So some of the leagues he said he scored in don't actually exist, but yeah, he's. I think the last team he played for in the U.S. was one of the FC Miami, I believe, a couple years ago,
Oh wow,
and
that's crazy.
yeah, he played forever, and
Yeah, he was very good.
Death row. What would be your last meal and drink if you're on death row for your last meal?
My last meal, if I was on death row,
And drink, dessert as well. The whole
well,
shebang.
dessert's part of the meal, man.
Yeah.
right, cheesecake definitely for the dessert. The drink. I don't like beer, but I do like wine. So whatever wine.
Nice wine. Okay.
Meal, definitely filet mignon. Vegetables, rice. I'm good. I can go after that.
Solid.
Solid.
I know you spend a lot of time here in kind of the Renton Tukwila area because Pac Northwest is just right around the corner. Have you been to Melrose yet? As I advertise for a different restaurant that isn't the Berliner. Not Berliner, but
No, I'm sorry, I haven't.
classic steakhouse, just like 4 blocks away, and they don't compete with the Berliner because it's an entirely different mindset. But if you want a really nice filet mignon and rice and wine, it's on par with stuff that you'll find in downtown Seattle.
Awesome.
What words or phrases do you overuse?
I tell my kids a lot to come on.
Come on, man. Come on. Come on.
Come on. Come on. I think that's kind of the phrase I use a lot. I tell a lot of people, don't worry, a lot too as well. That's a lot of my phrase because I get around people that are either stressed out or they got an issue or they got a problem. And my first words to them is always, don't worry. So it's kind of
Nice.
That's where it is for me.
What was your last purchase under $100 that kind of influenced who you are, or that somebody else should
Or what you do on a regular basis. Something you can't live without. You're like, man, I use this all the time.
Under $100?
Mm-hmm.
What in America is under $100?
We don't know. That's actually why we asked this question
We're looking
to
for
find
relatively.
things.
Let's see. We've various answers have been books, shoes,
Ice tray.
an ice tray because somebody had just moved into a house,
Love that.
baby seat.
Oh yeah, that's what Lamar said something about a baby seat. Yeah.
No, my vitamin drinks.
Vitamin drinks.
Yeah,
Alright.
I get those every single time. I can't go without getting it.
What's the
And,
name?
I like the raspberry
Raspberry
vitamin
energy
drink, vitamin
drink?
water.
Vitamin
Raspberry
water.
vitamin.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
like that.
Yeah.
Vitamin water. Boom.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, have to.
Hold on here. What do you believe in that others think is crazy? Or is there something that you believe in that others think it's a little bit crazy? A little bit what? Someone said ghosts.
Aliens,
No,
Sasquatch.
no.
Those are kind of the top three.
They come up a lot.
Yeah.
I believe in absolutely impossible things can happen. Impossible meaning far out things. I like to dream high, and a lot of times people think it's really crazy. But I do that all the time because in my experience with youth, because I'm around them all the time, their expectations are really low. Their expectations are very minimum, and they need to dream far and big and wide, and they kind of don't. And their vision is only kind of as far as they can see it. And I don't think they close their eyes enough to really see what the possibilities are. So my thing is, just the essence of dreaming really big and knowing that it can come to pass.
Nice. I like this, man.
How are
That's
we on
great.
the list? Do you guys have the full list? in
We
front
got a
of
few
you?
more.
Okay.
What advice would you give? Usually we ask 2006 you, but I'm going to ask you 1996 you because that was a pretty big time. If you could go back right now and talk to yourself, other than freaking yourself out about the fact that you were there.
If I could go back then and talk to myself,
Tell yourself in 1996 something, what would that be?
be more genuine and simple, and I don't mean simple as in I would say look for more peace in my life instead of always living on this stressful edge. And I coped with being on the edge all the time. I liked it. It was the drive for me. It was like I'm living on the edge. I'm going for everything, and I don't care. But I think instead of looking for that strive, I think I would have strived more for finding peace just in my life.
Excellent.
Who was your least favorite Liga MX player when you played, or Mexican national team player to play against? Your least favorite.
Least favorite player?
From Mexico, basically.
Aspe. He was my Luis Aspe, Garcia Aspe. Kind of in the middle of the park, real dirty player, but good. Okay, he was still good, but he was dirty. He was like the one you hate to play against, but love to be with. That type of player.
Enforcer, but he's gonna try to get away with it.
So
as much
Luis
as possible.
Garcia Aspe was a player of that nature.
Somewhat related to that, who's your favorite player to watch right now?
In Mexico?
No.
Oh, I'm just curious.
I'm not going to geographically limit him.
A little bit.
He's got a one-track mind.
What's the?
Sometimes he thinks about the Sounders, but usually it's about 03.
I love my boy Gonzalo Pineda from Mexico. Great coach.
How do you feel about Rafa?
I think he did a great job by starting the players' union in Mexico, then stepping aside to handle his personal matters.
That's actually a really good answer.
Yes.
Stepping aside.
Yeah,
Just
stepping aside.
stop talking.
Nah, I'll leave it at that.
Anyway, who's your favorite player to watch today?
Mark.
I think now my favorite player to watch is Neymar. He just plays with a whole. He plays so free right now, and that's what I see. I mean, yeah, there are very good players out there in the world, obviously, but he's the player that stepped out. Not hard to step out, even the caliber of Neymar. To step out and says, I want you guys to treat me bigger. And he didn't feel that he was going to be treated bigger than Messi, right? But look at him now. And I just think he's just a kid in the candy store, really. I mean, I just think he's doing his thing. It looks fun to play with him. It just looks fun. And so I see him. It's just a lot of fun just watching him. He looks like he's daring anybody to do anything, and he believes he can do anything on the soccer field.
His passes surprise his teammates sometimes, like how he gets out of situations. When you talk about that creativity, about solving problems, he's a guy that's never seen a soccer problem that he won't solve.
Yeah.
Well, if he was restricted when he was younger, he would never have those attributes. If he was restricted, right? Yeah. If he was tremendously structured, he would never. I bet he was unstructured for a long period of time. People saw him raw as can be, but I'm telling you, he's just dancing over people like Messi and Cristiano, just running through people and just doing their thing. But I don't know. Neymar, I don't know. I don't know even the youth development where he grew up in, and he was so structured in this and put him pigeonholed here or pigeonholed there or there. That person, you kind of got to let them do their thing. And hopefully the whole team sees it and goes, oh, yeah, we're just going to play around this guy because, I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, not too many people can just dribble around 2 or 3 people at will when they want to and through them and around them and get around them. Yeah.
It gets more fun for you when you play alongside somebody like that. We talked about that with Carlos Valderrama. You get to have a lot of fun, right? When you're on the field, when somebody does those sorts of things. Heck, some of your teammates probably felt that way about you with your runs.
Yeah.
It's just made being on the field
Well, just with guys like that, it just made me read the game a little better. Just made me be a little bit more of a student of the game. With Valderrama, it was if I missed a goal, he was all at me. I mean, he'd talk about my whole family, mother, father, brother, sister, whatever. I didn't have a sister, but he would talk about if I had one.
You kept him from an assist, man. He needed that.
Well, the thing is, he was just a winner. He was just a winner that, without education. He was just, but if I scored, he's the first one there. If I scored, he's the absolute first one before anybody to celebrate with me, to whatever. He's the first one there. But yes, if I miss one,
first one to call you out.
But see, if I was weak in my mind, it would destroy me. If I was weak in my mind, then I wouldn't be able to collect the next pass or look for the next run. I would or shoot and score the next goal. I wouldn't be able to do that because I was so consoled on what he said. He's a winner, and I better accept it or get off the field. So you can only imagine my son that I talked to all as a youth when he was a youth player. He got all the information and absorbed all of that. You know, not too many dads are able to get in the car and drive an hour, and because that's how far we lived from, you know, where we went 14 and up, you know, and I had him all when he was a youth player too, but, you know, he would always hear everything I had to say. You know, as a young player, talking about, all right, as a young one, he told me he wanted to be a professional soccer player. I said, okay, then, you know, what happens when a big guy knows that you're really good and really fast and he kicks at the back of your ankle? What are you going to do then? Well, Dad, I'm going to move him out of that position. Okay, very good. Move him out because he'll be uncomfortable. He'll either go with you or he won't. So so Ari is hearing this at 11 years old. You know, not the average player is hearing that at 11 years old. He's not hearing that. Here's how you play off the shoulder of the defender. Here's how you not play the ball. Don't worry about the ball. Only one person on the field has that. You play this defender. So it's a chess match. It's a chess game. Let's run here so I can get there. So you always run opposite of where you really want the ball or where you really want that defender to go. You look at the defender's eyes instead of looking at the ball and where it's going, because by the time you look at the ball and by the time you get it at your feet, that's too late to make decisions. You got to make them before then. So I was teaching my son that really early, early. So he was either getting that, and I told him there are going to be coaches that like you one day and there are going to be coaches that won't like you one day. Whatever you do, it doesn't matter. But if you allow that to affect you, then you are easy to manipulate, and you're going to have to be strong. So he's been like nails, man. He's been stronger than me. I'm like, I'd go there and start fighting somebody. But but he's been good.
That's awesome, man.
Now, like, literally your job is to spread those thoughts not just amongst the teams that you're coaching, but amongst a set of coaches. That's basically your role, right? With Pac Northwest as the director of boys coaching and heck, with the U.S. U20s and with OSA now as well.
That's correct.
Your job is to not just influence one player or a couple of players, but to influence an entire system. That's correct.
You know, my style as a coach is I like creative. I like attacking. But organized. That's what I like. The game is about scoring goals. So, I mean, that's part of the game. I don't need okay, possession, that's good, but it's got to be possession with a purpose. And there are 3 different areas on the field, and we got to pick where the possession is going to be most effective for us to have opportunities to score. And so I think a good coach can recognize the talent of players and know where to put them on the field for the betterment of the team. So I think that's just the coach. That's the coach that can see that. And that's a bit of a gift as well. It's a gift that can see that. Some coaches cannot. And I'm not going to name any names, but some coaches can't see that.
We got a question from Colin.
Oh, yeah, we didn't open this up to reader
if
or
folks here in the
questions.
room have questions, we'll grab those. But Colin Lamont, who is a huge supporter of, frankly, USA soccer from top to bottom, Sounders supporter as well, asks, has the Development Academy done anything to improve youth development as a whole, or do you expect it to, if it's too early to tell?
Well, it's done some things to get better. For one, the youth player is all based about training. So it's more training and more important games. So it's not about them playing all, so many games and so many tournaments like most youth players do around the country and go to every tournament under the sun. It's about playing high-level tournaments, important tournaments. But then training is very, very important. Making sure that they're playing at the end of that training session for at least the last 30 minutes, making sure they got some freedom in the game, proper throw-ins and offsides and all that kind of stuff are implemented in that last 30 minutes in terms of training. But we're doing that. The one thing I don't like in the academy to kind of go, give him some knowledge on that is that at U14, when you sub a player out, he's out. For me, I think that's wrong. Because if a player is going to train 4 times a week, and that's an academy now, academy player has to train 4 times a week, and you're going to go to Spokane to play a game, and your son is going to be playing, and there's 40-minute halves for the U14 player, and he goes to Spokane and maybe only plays 20, that doesn't sound like development to me. Obviously, the coach is not doing a hockey change, so some is going 40, some are going only playing 20 minutes, some are only playing 15 minutes, some are only playing 5. That's not development to me, because I think you really develop you're going to develop more in a training session because you get repetition,
Right.
but you're going to develop a lot in solving problems through trial and error when you're playing the game.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So for me, that's wrong from U.S. Soccer right there. They got to change that. Maybe higher ends, maybe U16, U17 when it comes a little bit more strategic for the player and the coach, But right now for a U14 player, no way. They should be freedom of training in and out, getting this player in the game. What they're trying to do is stop coaches from stalling times and all that kind of stuff, which they shouldn't be doing at that age anyway, right? Forget all that holding it in the corner and trying to win the game and all that kind of stuff at U14. Well, they do that, and they're trying to stop that, and make it more strategic for the coach. When I think they should make it more development, more playing, play is how you're going to develop.
Yeah. You talked a little bit about when you were growing up, your parents couldn't afford. Nowadays, the pay-to-play model, it's gone through waves. The one thing that the academy done, I think there's something somewhere around 30 to 35 of those academy teams that are now free. But that still leaves thousands of players whose parents are searching for money. What can U.S. Soccer do about the amount of money that it costs for a kid to play soccer?
Yeah, for academy player, probably costs like $3,000 a year to play, and
Wow.
And then you got travel, and then you got uniforms, and then you got all that kind of stuff. It becomes a lot of money. 70% of the players have to pay in this country. Others, if you're part of an MLS program, well, you don't. So I think there's entitlement. Still parents need to understand just because they pay doesn't mean your player pays. That's not really my motto. I think they should play anyway. I think if you choose the player to play on your team, you need to find a way to play him. Otherwise, let him be on another team where he can play and develop and rise up and have more confidence as a player, and not think that at U14 he's at the pinnacle of his soccer career. No. Be at the highest level you can in your club at U18, U19. That's at the height of where you need to be. So at 12 and 13, 14 years old, it's not the highest level, and there's a whole lot of room for development changes at the age of 14 all the way up to 19. So I think that model for U.S. has to be looked at. And maybe there's some funds going through for the team, because you have to pay to be in a U.S. academy. We got to pay. Each club has to pay a certain amount of money, whether it's $4,000, $5,000 just to be within that program. And I don't know the exact amount, but some of that's got to go back to the team. And some of the games that that the fans are paying for, hey, some of that has to continue to go to youth soccer, not just the MLS club that can pay for everything and trips and soccer shoes and bags and clothes and all that kind of stuff. No, they should be able to help out and help fund some of these other programs. Not them paying to be in the league. But how about let's going through, because they've accepted academy teams in the league because of their age, because they've been around a long time, not because they got the best curriculum and doing the right thing for the development. They don't go and sit down like the academy had just come in and sit down with Pac Northwest and look at the coaches doing training sessions for our coaches. So we know from top to bottom, everybody through U13 all the way to U19 are doing this type of training session on this day. Then the next day, we give a topic for the coach to do, and he has to derive a training session because we want to help them develop as coaches. When they want to go off and do their licenses, well, they've got some experience in that, and they're not totally lost.
Right.
And then on the third day, we give creativity to the coach. Because now the coach needs to have some creativity about himself and conjure up his own training session for the necessities of the team. Now I send them a topic, they send me back fully, and now I can make suggestions on that, and now I'm giving some feedback on that coach's
strategy and plan.
On that coach's lesson plan. So unless an academy director is going by each and every club that they permit to be a part of the academy program and doing that, well, then they should be paying these other clubs to be part of that because we're doing all the development, right? So and we're making it easy. We're doing showcase tournaments, right, for academies. These showcase tournaments are all for our U.S. academy directors in the U.S. so they can go there and see all the players at one spot. And so that's why I think some funding should go into the clubs that are doing these right things and right development styles of play instead of us having to pay to be in it.
Could that be something like if fans knew $1 from every of their ticket went to the youth program, whatever, or maybe a percentage of their ticket went to development and youth soccer within X miles of the stadium? Is that something that, because that is a kind of Americanized version of essentially what happens in the highly structured European nations.
Yes.
Those professional systems fund their youth systems.
Yes, those guys aren't playing anything. And you see guys that are coming from Tri-Cities and other parts of Washington that are very, very good. I can't afford that, coach.
Yeah.
I can't do that. We had a player coming from Tri-Cities every week, during the week. 3 days a week, he'd drive from Tri-Cities and come to train.
That's about a 3-hour drive.
Yes, it
Every
is.
day?
Now,
Yeah,
now they live here.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna let me tell you, he's like one of the best youth U14 players in Washington.
Wow.
Very good. And his
Wow.
parents chose to move here, find a job here, because they see the talent that he has. Not every family's not going to do that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do that. But he is an exceptional kid.
Yeah.
And he's grounded.
And I think things like you said, hopefully, the always look at the good. The bad of what happened with the recent qualified situation. The good is that the U.S. may look at making some drastic changes to make kids that are falling off, are falling in the gap and not getting seen because of the cost. There's got to be more that are not able to, and hopefully something gets tweaked, changed, adjusted so that more kids, soccer is more accessible to more, and the talent that is out there is all caught here. Makes sense. Before I forget, one of our audience members asked for adults just starting out for fun, what is a skill they should target first playing soccer as an adult if you haven't played much your whole life?
I think passing and trapping, because you do that a lot. Not many people get a chance to shoot on goal or score goals, but unless you can trap and pass a ball, passing is kind of derived from after shooting. Right. After I can trap a ball and pass a ball, if you pass a ball hard enough, you can shoot it off a pass. Gotcha. Right? You can pass a ball in the goal instead of just whacking it and shooting it hard. So I think the first rule of thumb, and people don't know the many dynamics that it goes into it to trapping a ball and passing a ball. There's a lot. And shooting a ball. So if I taught the first soccer 101 from a person that never shot a ball, if I taught him all the right steps of shooting a ball properly, they would be like, incredible. How do people do it? I mean, because there's steps to it. So I think if they can trap the ball well and pass the ball well, being taught, then they'll be able to play this game a little bit better.
Nice question, Lisa. Thanks. Now, Dave?
I know I've talked to John a lot. John Wilson is the president of Pac Northwest and helped us arrange to have Roy here tonight.
Shout out to John. Thanks, man.
You guys do fundraisers. You also have Steve Zakwani has helped fund a couple people into the program. If our readers, our listeners, our viewers,
our friends, our fam,
if they wanted to help local youth soccer here, you guys are Tukwila, Renton, Kent, Newcastle, Skyway. Like, how do they help you? What can we do to help you guys out?
I think we ask a lot of volunteers, a lot of parents in our club to help volunteers, and the reason why we ask them to help volunteers and ask for hours to volunteer within the club is so we don't have to pay for any outside people to come in and do certain things for us, because running a tournament is huge. Our administrative things are huge. Using the computer and doing certain tedious things on the computer are huge, and we do have some of our coaches that do that. But if we had more assistance in terms of volunteership within the club, it would be better.
Hugo knows because he helps run La Capita, which is an event that Labara, one of the subgroups at UCS, puts on every year for youth from underprivileged areas to participate.
Yeah, so we're the
down
Latino subgroup of the Emerald City supporters, and we every year sell some pretty sweet scarves and shirts, and most of the proceeds, about 95% of the proceeds, go to fund a kids tournament, and we try to aim it at youth teams that can't pay to play in some of the premium tournaments in the area. So we put on the tournament. We hire refs. Put it, at Starfire, some at fields in Seattle. We get nice trophies. We get smaller trophies for first, second, and third. We also enclose like a swag bag that every kid gets to keep, a little backpack with the shirt or something from Barra. And it's grown this year. We've done it for 5 years now. It started with just 4 teams, and it was indoor. Then it went to 6 teams and 8. And now we've seen one team that was like an 8 and 9-year-old teams, U10, I guess. We call it, I don't know. Now grow, and they've grown with the tournament. And now they're U14. And it's gone to the point where we were able to get a grant from the City of Seattle Parks Department. And recently at the last game, Sunday's game, it was announced that in conjunction with the Ray Foundation of the Sounders and the Latino Community Fund, we received a $10,000 grant to help us keep expanding that tournament to make it to have it, these tournaments that are premium or a prestigious tournament that teams that come from medium to low income households can play. So it's really proud. It's a lot of work, man. Like you said, the volunteers. I've been volunteering from 6 a.m. to like 8 at night on the day of the tournaments, and it is a labor. Like I'm like, man, I know I'm gonna be tired, but seeing a lot of the kids, and sometimes we've had some of them that were so grassroots that we had kids that were just around the neighborhood. In Rainier Valley, we played at the Boys and Girls Club where they had the field, and these kids said, "Hey, can I play? I'm not on a team." The kid just from the neighborhood, and the coach was like, "Yeah, man, let him on, jump in." And the kid was like the player of the tournament. This kid who, he's like, "I don't really play that much, but I want to just play." He's a kid; he just wanted to play, and the kid was just balling out. Yeah,
we kind of. We're in a facility in Starfire, which is very expensive. Yeah. We have a premier Mecca facility at Starfire. When people come to see us train or see our games, our facilities are great, and we have all the equipment that we need. So on that front, it gets very expensive. Right?
Yeah, sure.
Otherwise, we could be at a different facility and not so good grass and not so good turf, and not the facilities are not all that great. But we are at a premium at Starfire, so sometimes it gets very hard to finance that to be able to pay for all that. So and we're looking for sponsorship on our jerseys. We got 700 to 900 kids in our club, so to be a sponsorship on the front of every single jersey that a kid wears in our club is huge. That's out in the community a lot, not only in Washington but throughout the United States, and now being part of OSA and partnering with them in NPSL.
That's exciting, man.
That's going to be going to broaden our visibility, so to speak. So we're looking for that sponsorship to try to help players such as like we're talking about right now.
Yeah,
we are the karaoke music everybody can hear in the background a little bit. The Berliner plays karaoke at 9 Monday and Tuesdays.
It's kind of hurting my ears a little.
Tom's actually really good, and hopefully we can get him up on stage later this evening. Is there anything else? Like you talked a little bit about OSA. You're going to be coaching there this year in the NPSL. You coach at Kitsap. What else do we need to know about Roy Lassiter that we haven't covered yet today? I mean, it's been a 90-minute conversation.
Yeah, man.
So we've covered a lot, but there's clearly what one last thing do you need to make certain that we know?
Well, first of all, I'm all about the kids having fun. But at the same time, I'm serious about what I'm doing because I feel I can't waste not one training session. I can't waste a week. I can't waste a month. I can't waste a season. I can't waste a year with helping these kids develop as soccer players. I can't waste. So, you know, that's just one thing about me. You know, yes, over the years I've had to be friendlier at first because at first sight the players are very nervous and they're very they don't want to do certain things and they're scared to make a mistake and I always the first thing that's come out of my mouth is I don't care if you make a mistake. So that's like the first thing that always come out of my mouth, even comes out of my mouth now at training. I don't care if you make a mistake. I only care about what you do after, right? So if you make a mistake and you truck that guy down and you tracked him down and you tried to win the ball back or whatever, you got in good position, I saw nothing. And I say nothing. So because I know how hard this game is. It's a tough game, very tough game, and most of their parents can't even play it like their kids can. So
can't even play it on a video game.
Yeah, they don't know how it is inside that square. Yeah. So for me, it's just kind of coming with a lot of humor, but also coming the respect that I'm serious about their development. I'm as serious as they are. And wherever they want to go, I want to help them get there. But the majority of it is going to be them. They're going to decide that. Not mom, not dad, not me, not anybody else. They're going to decide that.
We really appreciate you coming down here and giving us. You are literally an MLS legend.
Yeah, this is unreal. Like we're in next to MLS and U.S. soccer royalty, man. Like this is beyond grateful and humble to be able to host you and hear you speak. We could definitely tell your passion for the development of youth is outermost, your most important, at everything you do today. So I'm just grateful to have been able to, swing some questions your way and learn more. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm grateful for the opportunity to, just use this platform just to, just give my experience, good or bad, because I've made many mistakes in my lifetime on the field and off the field. But I think these lessons that I've learned are going to help straighten the curve of understanding for many, many people that I confront. And that could be players or adults. No. So I just want to be that type of person to them. Let them know that I'm always here for the player. First and foremost, it's about the player. Pac Northwest is a player-centric club, and I'm a player-centric coach. And so if it's not about the player, then the coach needs to step away from it, So because they come with the wrong motives or the wrong direction for the player and the parent. So appreciate you guys having me on. Yeah. It was a pleasure, and humble to be in front of you guys, and humble to be able to just give my experiences to all people that are listening.
Nice, man.
Awesome. Thank you.
As always, we're
going to
thank the Berliner Pub here in downtown Renton, 3rd and Main.
Yes.
I got one more weekend, Friday, Saturday of Oktoberfest this week, so get in.
Hoppy Hans will be here.
And anything else we need to say, I think?
Sounders game are on Sunday. Every single team in the league playing at 1 o'clock.
1 p.m. Pacific.
All the playoff seating is on the line
for
all the teams in the playoffs.
Anywhere from 2nd to 5th.
Yeah, there's a weird
second. We're taking second.
Second's pretty good.
So I think that's it. Thanks to everybody for coming out.
Thanks
Thanks
y'all.
to Adam.
Adam.
I think Adam's
Mark.
going to send us out with some fun. Are we out?
Oh,
We are out.
We're out.
Is it my sweater gif again?
Sweater.